Seeing as Venusaur and Blastoise are getting a Charizard Severance package in the new DLC, as well as the start is also being brought some new forms, and Inteleon getting a gun, let's talk about the possibly returning Pokemon, as well as the Pokemon who are already in the games, who might receive a new Gigantamax form, and what that would look like or add to their story. We'll be going all out and choosing both cut and non-cut Pokemon again for new Gigantamax forms. Seeing as the Sword and Shield starters managed to get some new forms in the expansion pass that weren't in the main games, so we aren't leaving anything up to chance. Game Freak thinks they can hide things from us, we are the guessing ninjas. Much less threatening than Nintendo ninjas, however, what with the legal actions they take, and we just kinda guess general things. I haven't talked too much about Gigantamax forms on the channel, or made videos where we rank them, or talk about what could be changed just yet, as I wasn't sure how much that topic will be wanted. But if you do want to see those, just hit that like button on the video and let me know in the comments if you would. And subscribe to see those when those are out if I do end up making them. Just gotta ask and I'll come over handing a video to you like a Ask Jeeves. Let's see which Pokemon from previous generations could get a possible new Gigantamax form in the new expansions, what designs could be brought in, as well as who would be the most well-loved, bigger versions of themselves. Number 10. Braviary. I've always wanted Braviary to receive a new form. It is one of my favorite Generation 5 Pokemon, and I was hoping to see it get something in this generation, as it is one of the unique and outstanding normal flying types. All of the Mega Evolution concepts made for it seem like they would go right in with Gigantamax forms as well, keeping its original design and just putting some more emphasis on the standoutish parts and colors Braviary has to offer. I mean, there are a lot of good Generation 5 Pokemon who wouldn't need too much to be transformed into a good Gigantamax Pokemon design. Bisharp and Golurk could both take on Melmetal's leaner, sleeker, robots have adapted and are taking over the world design. Krogno wouldn't be too bad to just give it something, because I don't know how you're going to evolve that or make it into a form. Maybe give it the fan-made Klinklang Gigantamax form too, where it's also grinding gears. Also, Klinklang could have gotten one. But in all of Generation 5, they went with Garbodor. They always choose the most random Generation 5 Pokemon to get a form. Right, Mega Audino? Braviary, however, just has all the makings for this new form that stands out as a Generation 5 redemption arc. And enough of a blank spot on its underbelly to add some distinct markings and designs to really stand out even further, compared to the very few changes Corviknight was given to sort of spruce up the Gigantamax birds in this generation. Number 9. Porygon Z. Porygon's line seems like it'd be a fun project to upgrade all their RAM into a towering new project. Porygon on its own definitely seems like one of the starting Pokemon that could get its own form, like Pikachu, while ignoring the others in its evolution line, like Pikachu. But today we're focusing on only the final evolutions, and seeing a huge floating Porygon Z seemed like an awesome addition to the new forms in Sword and Shield. This would be one of those Pokemon with minor changes, as it already looks like one of those psyched out tumbling aliens that could be a good type of creepy when Gigantamaxing in its red aura and floating clouds. I could definitely see its limbs flying around each other and shuffling parts of its body, while having data pixels, Python code, or the neon shapes coming from Cammy's wand attack flying and circling around it, like Gigantamax Lapras's musical notes, to show off its data origins, and even have it, or parts of it, spazzing around, teleporting places, flashing, and have it change between different configurations of its body parts in random places, like it was coded incorrectly while being programmed into its new Gigantamax form. Also dealing with its full body turn to static from time to time. That would be very fitting specifically to Porygon Z and how it looks. Seeing it spritz around and teleport, changing sizes and location, all of that could set the tone for reminding me about that coding class I dropped out of. Number 8. Barbaracle. If you make it bigger, there's just more room for this Pokemon to grow. Oh, Barbaracle? You're not getting as much battle usage as you would hope for? How about we give you a hand? It's 7 little Binacles all combined together into one Barbaracle. What about 14? The rocky armor could be toned a bit more to make a full-bodied superhero suit, and could be given some more Binacles for a real 360 vision experience. It's basically VR the Pokemon, and has always had that feeling to be designed like a giant Godzilla-esque creature. Dynamax isn't enough, we need to set the bar even higher with Gigantamax Barbaracle. Number 7. Clefable. There might be quite a few picks for other Gen 1 Pokemon to receive a Gigantamax form, however Clefable stood out to me as it does have a mysterious look to it and doesn't really need too much of an overhaul to appease its fans. Game Freak can embrace the wings a bit more, make it less chubby, and more of an angel. Or just bloat it up and lay it on the floor. Snorlax gets a park and a tree on its stomach, maybe Clefable gets the moon and Neil Armstrong. Really, I'm just trying to pair Gigantamax forms together to give some more backstory to Pokemon who received them. There is always the classic fan theory of Clefable and Gengar being its shadow, and maybe these two can bring about a rivaling Gigantamax form showdown, where Clefable had to hide its in the DLC, so Gengar didn't shadow that too. We can also have some paired Pokedex entry as well for these two. Go into Gengar's mouth, you end up in the afterlife. Go into Clefable's mouth, you end up in the before death. So it's just your regular life as it is now, but instead you gotta talk into some giant creature's mouth. Maybe that is the afterlife. Maybe it might be better with a regional form in a later generation, but the angelic lean creature it could turn into, like when Shining Friendship randomly transformed after being given a bow and arrow, would be the perfect fit for a Pokemon like Clefable. Number 6. Skarmory. Just give it Corviknight's Gigantamax form, please. You know how long I've waited for Skarmory to get anything? You don't need to do too much. Make it bigger, more metallic, turn it into a Fairchild Republic A10 Thunderbolt 2 attack craft. I don't care, I just want Skarmory to have something. You can't leave the OG Steelbird behind. I love Corviknight, but Skarmory, not getting a Mega, not getting a form, is a lot to take in. This bird has been the staple of many battles, and a classic Pokemon that would really make a cut as someone's signature bird. You know, a dark electric regional form Skarmory would be sick. Okay, this is Gigantamax forms. Let's just buff up its design a little bit and give it the Mega Salamence Jet treatment. Number 5. Spiritomb. Spiritomb really fits the idea of receiving these forms, as it seems to be the type of Pokemon that would be difficult to be given anything else. As well as the little spirits squeezing out of the rocks, having the characteristics to really spook some people with a ghostly backstory as it giganticizes up and looms over everyone with its radiating aura. Also, this is probably its only chance. What are they going to do for a regional form? Just have it leave the rock and float around as that? We already have Haunter. As a Gigantamax Pokemon, seeing it go into its odd keystone and expand upwards, finally having this even more creepy, ghostly spirit appear out of it upon the final Gigantamax inflation could really set some new eyes on this underappreciated, could have been mythical Pokemon. It becoming a towering, more full-looking Pokemon, possibly with hands, maybe not legs because then we just end up with Gigantamax Grimmsnarl, but seeing more added onto the spiraling purple mist portion of Spiritomb, and what else this spirit can be hiding in the rock, seems like the best idea to encapsulate what Gigantamax is about, and show a design potential it can have to transform Spiritomb into a more boss-like creature. Number 4. Arbok. With Wheezing managing to get itself a Galarian form without its old pal and friend Arbok even being able to make it into the game, wouldn't it just be the comeback story of the ages to have the slithering snake come in, returning to the games with a Gigantamax form, and making its arrival a party? We do already have Tornado Sandaconda, but if we really just take the idea Flapple has, mix that with Sandaconda, and remove the caramel, we get Arbok in a little basket. The little Gigantamax clouds that float around each of them suits Arbok as well, if it was made to be a little bit more purple to match the poison it's inhaling. The markings on Arbok's chest could be a main focus point of change. It would be great to see what they choose to do with those. Arbok seems like a likely candidate for a returning Pokemon receiving one of these forms, and having it pop in and out of a little pot seems like what Game Freak's design team would most likely go for. And while Wheezing might seem like a snake for leaving its classic duo partner behind, moving to a new area and adapting to it before its friend could even purchase a ticket, a returning Arbok with a Gigantamax form could be Game Freak's way of showing the now nuclear plant who the bigger snake truly is. Number 3. Myletik. The graceful serpent comes in at number 3, hoping to put in its request for a form even though it's already in the game. Myletik has always stood out as a Pokemon that graced us with its different feeling than most Pokemon, and even makes a small appearance in the anime, where Ash and Go question why it's not an evolution of Dragonair. Good question, guys. Why isn't Myletik a pseudo-legendary Pokemon? Well, Game Freak, you can supplement that feeling with a nice Gigantamax form for the Pokemon of many eyelashes. If you just zoomed in on this picture of it in the anime, a little closer, you might think that's already a Gigantamax. Just white out its eyes to look like a possessed spirit and have a looming veil over it. And oh look, a simple yet elegant Gigantamax form. Myletik is a go-to pick to receive something in a generation at some point. It's one of those Pokemon you'd hope would get a new form, and seemed like one of the main hopes for even a Galarian form before the games were released with how good of a base it has for implementing new designs and features. It's amazing on its own, but a full-on mix-up to see Myletik in a new light with any form would have been a huge desire. Number 2. Zeraora. I actually love Zeraora. It's one of those never-evolving Pokemon that just has so much in its look and color choices that I would love to see a form that doesn't change too much of it. With Melmetal eventually getting its Gigantamax form released, the other mythical Pokemon that appeared randomly at the end of the Pokedex during Generation 7 seems to be a Pokemon that could use a little more story and bonuses to stand out. It's a great Pokemon to look in its direction and stare at if you like it, however don't want to tell it, but could use a form that makes it go from cool athletic runner with slight hunting skills and might jump on you soon vibe, over to menacing, fierce, but stern in-your-face attacker. But its prospective main competitor in terms of design would more than likely be Cinderace. Change that Pyro Ball underneath Cinderace to a ball of electricity, or a Duracell battery, and all of a sudden we've got that American Gladiator minigame where they try to push each other off pillars with oversized Q-tips. Just a battle of the century. Number 1. Arcanine. There has been so much fan art of regular Arcanine as a giant pile of love. Slightly more toned, but always keeping its lovable features. I personally don't want Arcanine to be changed too much, so a form like Gigantamax that can keep its original appeal and overall color scheme, but just make it bigger and sleeker, would bring a huge smile to all those fellow Arcanine lovers out there. Those realistic drawings you see of Arcanine seem like they'd honestly make a good form for it, where you just make Arcanine a little more fierce, maybe give it a nice collar, and change it up ever so slightly to keep that perfection. Even just seeing Dynamax Arcanine manages to make all those who see it, as well as this fluffy dog, a giant ball of happiness. You really do not need to change all that much with Arcanine. You can give it the Gigantamax Eevee treatment, where it's brought to the spa, fluffed it up a little bit more, and make it primed. As long as Arcanine isn't given a cry like Eevee's Gigantamax cry. Woof, that's a thing of nightmares.